G'day dudes. I often get asked, what is it that you really need to live the lifestyle you'd lead? And the answer I always give them is time. If you've got time, you can wait for the weather. And having the weather right really makes it comfortable when you go to sea. So this is a little video I've put together. I call it the 101 of cruising comfortably. Take a look. So what makes cruising pleasurable? What I'm doing right now, actually, we waited in the sandy strait for about 3 days to get the weather to go round to the north. At the moment I've got a northerly blowing at probably about 10 to 15, and we're heading south, so I've got all of the weather coming from behind. The headsail is set. That's drawing beautifully at the moment. It's probably giving us a knot and a half or 2 knots, and we're just rolling around. It's peaceful. I could have a lure out if I wanted to fish. I'm not fishing at the moment, but it's just a very comfortable way of cruising. If I turned the boat round 180 degrees and headed into this, it would be very uncomfortable. The boat would be slamming, everything would be rattling and shaking, probably a fair bit of spray coming up over the front. So if you can get the weather right and get it behind you, it really does make cruising a real pleasure, and you've got to love days like this. On the east coast you don't get a lot of northerly. The prevailing wind is a southeaster, so if you're heading north you can usually pick up southeasters pretty quickly. They blow pretty constantly. At certain times of the year the northerlies come in. It's usually between about November and maybe March, and you do get quite a few northerlies up here. As you move further down the coast, when you get further south down on the New South Wales coast, the northerlies are more prevalent, and even during the trade wind season that we get up here, which stretches from probably April through to October, on the New South Wales coast you will get quite a few northerlies, but pretty rare to get northerlies further north than this in the cruising season. So usually when you get a northerly like this, you get on it, the travel's good, it's comfortable, you can make a cup of tea, you can make lunch, everyone's having a good time, and you usually get on a northerly like this and you do quite a few miles. We're doing 41 miles today. We could have done another 41 quite easily. It's very comfortable doing it. If you're into it, if the weather is heading you and you're smashing into these waves that are coming up from behind me, after about, well for me, after about 10 minutes I've had enough. I'll turn around and go back. So because I'm retired and really don't have to be anywhere at any time, I can work the weather patterns and keep that wind coming from behind. It's very important if you want to enjoy your trips. The forecasting we have these days, this northerly change has been forecast for at least 5 days. It said that it was going to, like 5 days ago, the forecast was for westerlies this morning, which we had, light, and it was forecast to go around to the northeast after lunch. It's exactly what's happened. So the forecasting is pretty good. If you look at the forecast 2 days out, you can be pretty well assured that's the weather you're going to get. So don't be too gung-ho about it. Don't go out and knock your head against the weather. The weather is going to either make or break your trips, and if you get it right, it's beautiful. I'm loving this. Well, this is the program that I use. It's quite a unique program. So what you can do is put your position in. So let's have a look at what's happening right here. I'm on the Gold Coast at the moment. So what I can do is just click on a little bar there. If I was travelling south, I can move that around. I could move it north or south. I can put that on. It gives you real-time information of what the weather's doing. So if we come back to now, it's telling us that we've got an easterly blowing at 15 knots out off the coast. So that'd be out off the Gold Coast here. Now with the slider along the bottom, If we slide that along, it'll take the forecast into tomorrow, and you see it gives an animated look at the wind. So this is the wind, where it's coming from, so you can see it's east-southeast at the moment, and the different colours tell you the different strengths of wind. So at the moment here we're between 20 and 25, and up here in that orange section it's getting a bit stronger. It's up over 25 knots. As we move through the forecast period, and it goes out about 7 days, you can see that it's saying that that southeast wind is going to be maintained for the next 3 days at least, and then Thursday we're coming down to 6 knots, and it's going around a little bit. And then on Friday, you can see it's quite light on Friday off the coast, and it has gone around a little bit to the north. So if we move that a bit further along, okay, Saturday we've got northerlies or northwesters. So if I was planning a trip, but you can see that we're only getting that northerly for probably about 24 hours. So this is the tricky bit, is getting the wind to stay out of the north for a decent amount of time so that you can use it. So in this scenario here, the wind's going around to the north. Well, it's pretty light on Friday or even Thursday. If we go back to Thursday, it's out of the north there a bit. It's going around to the north on Thursday late, so that's 9 p.m. So if you want to travel during the day, you'd have to come to, let's say, 7 a.m. and you can see it's quite light, 4 knots. So we've got 4 knots from the west, and then as we move a bit further down the forecast period, you can see that's going to the northeast and it's blowing at 7 knots. So that's 1 p.m. on Friday, and then 6 p.m. on Friday, 10 knots from the northeast. So that'd be a pretty favourable wind for me if I was heading down the coast. If I was heading down this way, it'd be a pretty favourable wind. Once we get to Saturday, it's gone around to the northwest again, still pretty light. So this is Saturday morning at 4 a.m. So if you're prepared to travel at night, you could have held that northerly all night, and it's down to about 4 knots on Saturday morning. And then when does that change occur? So by 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, you can see the wind's gone around to the south or the east, southeast. So now we've got the wind coming in from this direction, and then as we go through the period, you can see it's going to get stronger from the southeast. So that southeasterly is really the trade wind system that we usually encounter, probably from April through till October. The further south you go, the more northerlies you're likely to pick up. The other thing about this program is it's not only the wind that it measures, but you can measure wave heights. So there we've got swells. We've got the swell here. So you can see the swells from an easterly direction. It's a period of 7 seconds, 1 metre, a 1 metre swell. And there's a secondary swell there of 0.4 metres from the south. So you can look at that. You can look at sea temperature. So this will give you an idea of what the sea temperature is. And at the moment it's up over 20 degrees all the way along the coast, so quite warm. You can look at clouds, temperature. We're not really too interested in temperature, because if it's hot you take your shirt off, if it's cold you put a jumper on virtually. The wind is the main thing that we're thinking about, but you could look at rain and thunder too. So this will give you an idea if there's any storms around, and you can see these blue patches. They indicate that there could be some thunderstorms in the area. But as I said, the wind is the one that we're really interested in, and this will take you out. So it takes you out 10 days. So from today, 10 days time, it looks like we're back to northerlies again. So it looks like next Tuesday, some good northerlies there. Okay, so Monday, even from Sunday, it's only going around the south a little bit Sunday, but you can see that on Monday we've got some good northerly there. So if we were heading south, that's what we'd be jumping on. And in the forecast period, we've got northerlies up to 8 knots, 10 knots, even northeasterly at about 4 knots on Wednesday. So if that forecast held, I'd be looking, if I was heading south, to probably going on Monday. And if I have to cross a bar, that'd be a pretty good wind to cross a bar on. If it's only blowing up to 8 knots, the conditions shouldn't be too bad for crossing bars. Of course, the other thing, if you are crossing your bars, go and have a look at your wave heights and that as well. So you can see the waves are only 0.8 of a metre, a period of 7 seconds. So that's on Tuesday, so we might be looking at crossing a bar then. So you've got waves coming in from the east, southeast at about 0.8 of a metre, which is not very high. So you'd think that crossing a bar would be pretty good on that Tuesday. So we're heading down the coast. We might most likely wanted to go to jump in over across a few bars, and that's the other thing you'd look at. Now, I'm not saying you could plan that far ahead. 10 days out is pretty ambitious, I'd say. But if you looked at it, say, next Sunday and you were still getting the same figures, I'd be pretty confident, and you'd look at it again before you left, of course, make sure it hasn't changed, because sometimes these longer range forecasts will change with time, so you've got to keep a bit of an eye on it. But it's a really good program, this one. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything. It's called windy.com. These are all current wind strengths and directions at the moment, so you've got an idea what's happening. These are mainly taken on the coast, and be aware that the wind offshore can usually be a little bit greater than what the wind is over the land, so be aware of that. But it'll give you the current wind strength and that as well. There's more layers here. You can even go to ocean currents. Here we go, currents. So that tells you what the ocean currents are doing. Now these are not tidal currents, they're actually ocean currents, and you can see that if we were heading south, you can see that the currents are mainly setting in a southerly direction. So that'd give us 0.6 of a knot if we were heading south. So we'd pick up 0.6 of a knot off that current, and even stronger if we went down a bit further. You can see we've got 1.5 knots down around, well, Byron Bay, probably off Byron. So you can see those currents setting south. Not much good if you're coming north, but you can use those currents predictions as well. So a very good program, worthwhile having on your iPhone or your computer. You can even do trip planning. If you've got it on your computer, you can actually do trip planning, and it'll tell you what the conditions are going to be like at each stage of your trip. You can't do that on an iPhone. It's only when you've got it on a computer like this. So give Windy a try. I think it's a really good one. Put that in your bag. The other thing you'd be looking at, of course, is tides. And I think they've got a tidal feature on this as well. I use Willy Weather for my tides. It's got a good graph on Willy Weather, and it's a good way of finding what the tides are doing. The tides will come into play if you're crossing bars as well. Don't forget, if you're ever going to cross an ocean bar, only cross it in the last 2 hours of the flood, the best time to cross. So that's how we live our life when we're cruising. We're looking at these wind speeds all the time, and if the wind isn't right, we're hiding behind Morton, North and South Stratty. If you're hitting behind them, you'd be pretty comfortable out of this wind. But of course, if it goes around to the north, if you're in here, you're still going to cop a bit of that wind, so you want to be somewhere else. So having this animation, I think, is really great, because it helps you get a good idea without looking at isobars, and you can put isobars on these charts and have a look at them, but with the animation it really is giving you a good idea of what the wind's doing. So try windy.com. It's a free app. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little vid, and hope you learned something from it. It really does make a big difference if you can hide out of the weather and wait till it's right before you travel anywhere down the coast. And look, be careful on those ocean bars. I'm going to do another video on the best way of attacking them and crossing them and planning for them. Thanks for watching, dudes. If you've got any questions about it, just send me a note in the comments, and please subscribe. It helps me out. It's the only way I can get this little channel out there. So please give a subscription, ring the bell, make a comment, or give me a like. See you soon, dudes.